This happened about a decade ago, back when I was a kid living with my parents. We lived on a huge piece of land that was mostly covered with forest. Our house was completely surrounded by trees. It was nice because it meant we could be as loud as we wanted to without disturbing anybody, and our nearest neighbors were a pretty good distance away. The story I am about to tell happened on a summer night. I was awakened suddenly, in the middle of the night, by a familiar ear-splitting shriek. It startled me so badly that I nearly fell out of my bed as my heart jumped out of my chest. I looked around the darkness of my room and saw my 5-year-old brother, Ethan. He was flailing around in his bed across the room, kicking and screaming. I slipped out of bed and stumbled as I rushed over to the light switch and flicked it on. And almost instantly, he stopped screaming. He kicked off his covers and scrambled to get out of his bed. I looked into his face and could see genuine terror as he huddled close to me, keeping his gaze fixed on the open window above his little bed. I turned him towards me. His eyes were wide, and he was hyperventilating. "What is the matter, buddy? What was it?" I asked him. Before he could answer, my parents burst through the bedroom door. "What the hell is going on in here?" roared my father, who always hated being awoken before work in the morning. "It's Ethan. I think he had a bad dream," I replied. My mother pushed past my father to come look at Ethan, who was still keeping his eyes on the window. She took him over to my bed and sat him down next to her. "What happened, honey? Was it a bad dream?" Ethan didn't reply. Instead, he motioned towards the open window. "Did you see something out there, buddy?" Father asked him, walking over to his window to have a look. It was a man. Ethan replied with a whimper in his little voice. My father, who was dressed in nothing except for his old blue bathrobe, rushed out into the hallway and into his bedroom. I heard the door to his gun safe swing open. "Alan," my mother called to him. "You don't need to do that. He just had a bad dream." My father came back down the hallway and into the room, his rifle in hand. "Yes, I do," he replied. "Why?" "Because the lock on that window has been broken. Someone tried to get in. You stay here, I will be back." My mother, who was always so calm and collected, quickly rushed both my brother and me to the safety of her bedroom, where the window was locked and another rifle was in the safe. I remember feeling a sense of fear because my mother was never afraid of anything. We huddled together in that room for about 15 minutes before my father returned. "Well, what did you find?" my mother asked. My father came in and leaned the rifle up against the closet door. "Nothing," he replied, "but there were footprints outside that window. Someone was there." "Oh, God." "Don't worry. I think our little man here scared him off. Didn't you, Guy?" he said to Ethan, giving him a pat on the back. Ethan was silent for a short moment. He just stared into space. "He tried to get me," he said, with a slight shakiness in his tone. The room went quiet. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "He tried to pull me outside. He was going to get me." My mother began to tear up as she pulled him close to her. "I think maybe the boys should sleep with us tonight, Alan," she said to my father. "Sure, hun." Nothing happened again after that night. My dad fixed the lock on our window and life went on. It is a story that still gives me chills whenever I think about it. A few days after it happened, I was walking outside with Ethan. I decided to ask him about the man that he saw, even though my parents didn't want me to bring it up to him again. "Ethan, that man you saw, the one who tried to get you, do you remember what he looked like?" I asked. He said nothing. Instead, he looked at me and did that creepy thing he used to do, where he folded his eyelids inside out and smiled at me. I never slept in that room the same way ever again.